Okay, in this side note podcast, I'm going to go over some tips for helping you recognize when alphas are long. This is in response to Socrates' question in the last class. All right, so the best way to be absolutely sure whether the alpha on your noun is long or short is to check the dictionary. That way you will be 100% sure that it is long or short. The dictionary will show you whether the accent is long or short, or the alpha is long or short when it's ambiguous. Okay. Now, rule of thumb that you can go with is most alphas are long. Exception is in the Omicron declension, the neuter plurals are short. So we see this in the article. The neuter plural article ta is short. So neuter plurals, alphas are short. The other place where we see alphas are short are the eta alpha eta declension, and that's where it's a little bit more tricky. So we're going to focus on that. So in the alpha eta declension, we have this grid I made up, and we see that there are only two places where we can expect the alpha to be short, and this would be in the nominative or the accusative. And then it's short because of accentuation purposes in the nominative plural. That's a diphthong, right? But so in the nominative singular, the alpha could be short. Okay? So, how can you then narrow it down? You have a word, it has the alpha at the end. In the nominative, you don't know if it's long or short. Well, you can use the accent. So, if the word is accented on the ultima in an alpha declension noun, the alpha is long. That's number one. So, we look at this list of alpha declension long vowel feminine nouns that Mastronardi has provided. We can see agora is accented on the agora here is accented on the ultima, and so that must be long. Another one is thea, accented on the ultima, so the alpha is long. Stratia, accented on the ultima. Sumphora, accented on the ultima. So alpha nouns, alpha declension nouns, accented on the ultima are long. The alpha is long. Okay. Then another accent rule we could use to figure out whether the alpha is long or short is the 3-back rule. This sort of getting ahead of ourselves in terms of looking at the recessive accents, but in general, even before we get to our persistent rule, which is that accents want to stay where they are in the nominative, before we even get to that, there's an even overarching accent rule, which is that accents want to be as far back as possible. So if the accent is on the antepenult, then the ultima must be short. The only way you can have an accent on the antepenult is when the ultima is short. All right, so let's look at that. All right, so here we see the word aletheia here, and we have 1 syllable, 2 syllable, 3 syllables back, the antepenult. So this alpha must be short, as he tells us. Gefura, we see alpha, upsilon, epsilon. So the antepenult has the accent, so the alpha must be short. Hireya, 1, 2, 3, that alpha must be short. Hugeya, again, accent is on the antepenult, 1, 2, 3, so it must be short. Thalata, accent is on the antepenult, must be short. Trapeza, accent on the antepenult, alpha is short. So if you have an accent on the antepenult, the ultima is short. Okay, so that solves that one. All right, so now we know, okay, if it's an alpha noun and it's accented on the ultima, that alpha is long. If it is accented on the antepenult, the alpha must be short. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Next accent rule that can help us narrow things down when we're dealing with alpha nouns. If the word is accented on the penult and the penult is long, then the long short rule kicks in. So if we have an acute on a long penult, then the ultima must be long. If we have a circumflex on a long penult, then the ultima must be short. And let's look at that. All right. Again, so here we're looking at we'll look at Moira. So Moira has a circumflex on the penult, and it's a diphthong. Diphthongs are long, so that alpha must be short. Pera, same principle. This is a diphthong, a, with a circumflex. In the nominative, this alpha must be short. Okay? We look at glotta. Again, we know omegas are long. With a circumflex, the alpha must be short. Okay. So that leaves us with our ambiguous scenario of doxa, where you have the penult is short and you have an alpha at the end. Now the only way to figure this out is to go to the dictionary. Check the dictionary. So there, this is the dictionary entry I've excerpted from, and there we find, lo and behold, we can see the dictionary marks that alpha short. So the dictionary will mark the ambiguous vowels as long or short when it needs to. So here, doxa is marked with a short alpha because it's ambiguous. We couldn't tell by the accent, by the declension, by any possible way. So we need to just know that it's short when we learn this now. All right, so this hopefully will clear up answers a question about how to figure out when the alphas are long or short. And but as I said, number one way to know is to check the dictionary.